Hey there friends, welcome to another Legally Armed America video. I'm of course Paul Glasgow. I have a pretty interesting video today. I'm going to go down a bit of a rabbit hole and I welcome you guys to join me along that journey. If you don't want to, simply don't do it. In other words, don't wait till the end of the video and then complain that you went down the rabbit hole with me and you're mad that you did. If it's not something that you want to do to generate some independent thought, then simply don't take the journey with me. Do I have your attention yet? I think you're gonna want to watch this whole video because this was something that the more I dug, the more that I unearthed. And I think all these things tie together in relation to the drones out in New Jersey. Guys, go check out my friends, Attorneys on Retainer. These guys are way more than an insurance company. They are going to help you in the event that you have to draw your weapon and use it. Very, very good to have attorneys in your corner instead of a salesman or an insurance agent, right? That's the way I look at it. I want somebody who understands the law, supporting me, backing me, and more importantly, protecting me and my family. Check them out. Attorneys on Retainer. Again, Attorneys on Retainer. Use my discount code FTATF and receive half off your one-time sign-up fee. So the White House has come under a lot of fire regarding these drones in New Jersey. You've got both sides of the political aisle. I'm talking about the voters who are upset about this. They're not getting answers. When you tell the American people, we don't know whose drones those are, and we don't know what they're doing, and we don't know what they are, but we know they are no danger to you or the general public, people know you're lying. People either think you're stupid or you're lying, because you'd be stupid if you truly don't know anything about them to say that there's no danger, because you don't know that. And as I stated yesterday, if you got a guy in a raincoat with a bag of candy and a roll of duct tape at a preschool and you ask the resource officer there, who's that guy over there? And he says, I have no idea, but he's not a danger to the kids. You would not trust him. You would not believe him. You would wonder what was up. That's why people wonder what's up right now. But I personally believe the reports saying that it was Iran. Look, let's get rid of the Iran stuff, okay? The current White House wanted to tie Iran to one of the assassination attempts against Trump. Now they're passing, I think, a false narrative that these are Iranian drones. Of course, they're saying that we didn't say that and that that's not the case. But look, these people are intelligence experts, not intelligent experts. Intelligence experts. Big difference. So they know that if they can say, like, let it leak that this is Iran, and then come out and say, oh, that's not Iran, then it absolves them of any, I guess, blame in that leak of getting that information out. I think they let that information out. I think they still want us to go to war with Iran, and they're doing everything they can. They saw that the general public was upset. Both sides of the party aisle, and realize that the American people are not having this. They're not okay with you flying these drones overhead, not telling them what it is. So this was a way to take advantage of some upset people and again point the finger over at Iran and then come out and say, well, we have no proof of that, right? I think it's a lie on their part. But there's some weird stuff going on. If you start to piece this stuff together, it might make a little bit more sense. Now, I don't have any additional information on the current situation regarding these drones. I do, however, have a reason why I think this is the federal government that knows what's going on with these drones. Either they know directly or they are directly involved in what's happening with these drones. The truth is going to come out. At some point, a version of the truth, let me put it that way, will come out. But one of the things that got glazed over really fast by John Kirby was whenever he was talking about this. But one of the things that got glazed over really fast by John Kirby, and nobody else is talking about this, was whenever he stated, while there is no known malicious activity occurring, the reported sightings there do, however, highlight a gap in authority. Kirby repeated, White House calls on Congress to pass legislation to expand the ability of authorities to identify and counter drones that are a threat to airports or other critical infrastructure. Now, other critical infrastructure could be really anything. Anything that somebody determines that there is a threat It could be a gun range. It could be a power plant. It could be a water purification facility. Anything where an attack on that place could result in mass casualties or mass injuries or something like that. So, again, if you look at what they're talking about here, they are talking about, John Kirby is talking about right here, and this is so indicative of the federal government when they want something to happen. We've talked about this before. They create, and look, I'm going to use the term false flag, right? Because it certainly applies in this case if my theory holds true. They create an event that is not really some kind of crazy dramatic event that everybody should be losing their minds over. And the federal government knows that because they know they're behind it and they don't intend on going forward with anything that's going to hurt the American people. So they know it's not a tragedy waiting to happen, right? Because they're never going to, quote, pull the trigger, if you want to call it that. What better way to get the American people to not only support additional authorization or bills that might infringe upon the rights of the American people, what better way to get them to either support that or ignore the negative side of that than to create an event that made the American people scared of a particular instance like unidentified drones and say, well, see, if y'all would just get behind us passing this type of legislation, we could be done with this. Headline, NFL Justice Department urge Congress to take action on threat from drones. Guys, look at the date on that. December 9th, 2024. That's 5 days ago. These drones have been flying since the end of November. I believe November 18th is when the first drones in New Jersey were originally sighted. So we are looking at the creation of a drone event that no one can explain. 3 weeks later, headline comes out talking about, let's ignore the NFL portion of that because that's certainly not the important side of this, but the Justice Department urging Congress to take action on threat from drones. The National Football League, the Justice Department, the FBI, and other agencies will call on Congress on Tuesday to expand U.S. government authority to detect and destroy drones that could pose security threats over stadiums and other locations. Congress has debated for years expanding authority amid growing safety concerns. The time to act to keep fans safe is now. Now, they're tying this to an American pastime because they know that millions of Americans will think, oh, cool, let's make our football stadiums safe so that we can enjoy our pastime, right? They're not saying initially that the FBI is behind this. They put the NFL, National Football League, ahead of anything. Then they add in the Department of Justice and the FBI. Because, they're trying to tap into that love of the American pastime of football to get the American people to go, oh, cool, this is, don't, by all means, don't disrupt our football, right? According to written testimony, rogue drone flights into the restricted airspace above stadiums during NFL games rose to 2,845 in 2023 from 2,537 in 2022. So in 1 year, they rose about 300, right? Did anybody's football game get disrupted as a result of that? Were any games canceled? Were any even delayed? So they're making an issue out of seemingly a non-issue here. But there's more. Now I'm going somewhere with this, guys, so be patient with me. Remember the Directive 5240.01? The Pentagon's alarming directive allows secret use of the military, turning intelligence inwards on the American people. Remember, we lost our minds when this came out a month ago. The Pentagon adopted just a month and a half ago a new directive in the run-up to the 2024 presidential election that authorizes military intelligence agents to use lethal force against the American people in connection with political unrest that, in many instances, would be protected First Amendment activity. Now, you remember when that came out, right? It was a lot of outrage. I couldn't believe it. Oh, man, that's unconstitutional. Remember that. That's unconstitutional. So when you try to pass something that's been in place, the opposite of that, in other words, you couldn't use it against the American people for centuries, people lose their minds. There's outrage. No, it's always been like this. The federal government could never use the military against the American people. It's written in the Constitution. They're protected by these words in these old documents, right? But What if you have evolving technology and you implement the rules for that evolving technology before that technology even takes effect? So those rules and possibly laws, if Congress is going to get involved, those things become the standard before you start utilizing that particular technology. What am I talking about? I'm talking about manned drones. Remember, let's not lose sight of the fact that John Kirby also said that a lot of these drones were manned vehicles. Now, he did not come out and say that they were commercial airliners. He said a lot of them were, and they corroborated this, were manned vehicles, manned drones. Again, some they're dismissing as, oh, that's just a jet. That's just a commercial jet airliner, whatever. But we know from the video that we've all seen that they're not. So I wonder if some of those drones were manned drones, and that's why they won't shoot them down, right? Because they know somebody's in them. Again, I'm not saying that they are. What I'm saying is they could be, because they're certainly giving themselves an out right there. Sounds kind of crazy, doesn't it? That's like some futuristic stuff. That's like some George Jetson stuff. We can't be anywhere near that, right? Check this out.
For the first time since helicopters began flying in the 1940s, a new category of aircraft will soon appear in the skies. These powered lift will take off and land like a helicopter, yet move through the skies like an airplane. The Federal Aviation Administration is now ready for these aircraft to safely enter service. In October 2024, we finalized a rule for pilot training and qualifications, the last key step needed to get them flying safely. We've made this new rule flexible to accommodate the diverse designs of powered lift. This approach ensures that safety remains our top priority, while we embrace innovation to the maximum degree possible.
So we're there. We are there. How close to there? We're there, right? I went to the federal government's own website, United States Department of Transportation, and looked at the FAA website and found this link right here on advanced air mobility. Basically, air taxis is what they're talking about. Air taxis. These are taxis that would pick people up, human beings, fly them to a location, and drop them off. Manned drones. Now, at this point, the FAA is talking about them being piloted drones. I believe there's not enough information on their website, but I believe they're talking about a pilot being in there. But who knows, it could be remotely piloted. I don't know the answer to that. But I do know the passengers would actually be humans. How much work have they done on this? Well, they started doing some work on this in July of 2022. Again, this is pulled from the FAA's own website, so I'm not taking this from an outside source. It's from their website. July 2022, they started working in collaboration. They started moving forward. Look at the end of the timeline. October 2024, implementation. Now, interestingly, there's a lot of brands out there that are involved in this and very interested in this. This is actually a slide that I took from Porsche. Porsche is looking, that's the car, the sports car manufacturer. Porsche is actually going to be making some of these air taxis as well. And this is a slide from their own website. Now back to the how close are we to having this manned flight, right? These air taxis. FAA issues implementation plan outlining steps to usher in advanced air mobility. This is from a report in the summer of 2023. Look at the first paragraph. FAA released an implementation plan detailing the steps it and others will need to take safely advanced air mobility operations in the near term. The Innovate 28 plan includes various components and the sequence they will occur in for operations to be at scale at one or more sites by 2028. So 3 years from now, right? That sounds like a pretty good ways off. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's really not. But 2028, we're about to roll into 2025. So in 3 years, we're going to have air taxis, right? We're going to have them sooner than that. They're actually ready right now. More on that in a minute. If you go to the report that they put out on all of this advanced air mobility implementation plan, you're going to find a lot of information in there. They discuss the types of aircraft that they're going to either allow or encourage. And what they're really looking for is vertical takeoff, or very, very short takeoff. I think they would prefer vertical takeoff, and they're actually talking about building a lot of vertical takeoff places at current airports and inside cities where these units can actually land and vertically take off and vertically land. That's what their preference is. Now, if I go look a little bit deeper where on the slide where it says infrastructure, initial AAM operations in a 25-28 time frame. Again, now they're saying 25 to 28. Remember they said this was likely going to be in 28. Now they're backing it up 3 years to just next year in a couple of weeks. In the 25-28 time frame, we're expected to primarily use existing airports and heliports with modification where required to meet FAA's interim guidance for vertiport design. A little further down, it's unlikely but possible that specially built vertiports will be available in this time frame. That's starting next month, right? In this time frame. Modifications may be required to existing ground and air infrastructure due to the nature of these new aircraft. For example, if heliports are used as vertiports, they require the following infrastructure to successfully operate in the 25 to 28 time. So this technology is ready now. It's ready now. It's just the infrastructure to land and take off for these things that they don't have in place yet. The actual units themselves and all the guidelines, as you see, they've been working on for years. So this is not a new concept. It's just a matter of getting the landing and takeoff infrastructure in place so that they can safely maneuver around all these places, more specifically in cities. Now, real quick, just for those of you that are curious, the air taxis were almost a thing at the Olympics this past summer. Air taxis failed to get certified for the Paris Olympics. There's still hope for 2028. This was this year. So they intended to use air taxis that we're talking about at the Olympics this past summer. So the technology's already in place and they thought they would have it, but they did not get full certification at the time for this. So this is not some futuristic technology that we're talking about. This is no theory. This is a thing that's happening. Now this is where I start to tie all this together because I know you're beginning to wonder what the heck is he talking about and where in the heck is he going? Look at the last paragraph. The FAA is engaged in rulemaking to enable AAM operations. The efforts are currently oriented around piloted operations, and in the interim, the agency expects to use waivers, deviations, blah, 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 blah. What they're talking about is they need rulemaking, and in many cases, they're going to need some rulemaking from Congress. Let's remember, back to what I said at the beginning of the video. Congress is being pushed right now to implement new rules that would allow the federal government to shoot down drones that they deem to be dangerous or causing a potential danger to different types of infrastructure. You understand what I'm saying here, right? This New Jersey drone situation has sparked interest in getting the general public to buy in to saying, yeah, we're cool with y'all shooting these things down. And in a matter of weeks, we could be seeing air taxis flying above the skies. I'm not saying the federal government wants to shoot a manned drone down. But they did put out what they said about using the military against citizens of the United States. Now they're trying to set up rulemaking via Congress, which would make it a law at that point, to shoot drones out of the sky. Same thing, except you're in a drone now instead of walking around on the street. Same type of directive that they're trying to pass as far as using the military against the American people. Instead of shooting you, they're shooting your drone down that you are in. Oops! Well, guess what? Back to what I said earlier. The reason people lost their mind about the talk about using the military against the American people is simply because there's been a law in place forever saying that you couldn't do that. If they're successful in putting together a law on the front end of this technology, on the manned drone technology, and then suddenly it states that, hey, by the way, all of you guys that we're training to be pilots, if you're doing something in an area that we feel like is dangerous to the American public, some kind of a sensitive area that you're flying over, we got it in writing right here. Now, this is the first manned liftoff, right? But we got it in writing where we can shoot you down. So you know that, right? Everybody just checks the box. Yeah, we knew that. So it's not shocking to anybody. So when they shoot one down, no one goes, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. Well, I can't believe they did that. I mean, the guy knew that that was going to happen, right? We put it in writing and he checked the box. When you do things before you start using that type of technology, it's less of a shock when you start taking American lives to do things that you want to do as the federal government. Don't think this is a small thing, and do not think for one moment that the federal government has not planned all this out. I do believe the federal government knows what's going on. I do believe the federal government is part of what's going on, and I do believe this is all a way for them to maintain control and to keep us in line if that manned taxi issue becomes an issue. And make no mistake, you can misuse the manned taxi, the air taxi thing, right? I could very easily see somebody climbing into one of them and putting a gun to the pilot's head and saying, you know, take me to the Super Bowl, right? I mean, you could see that happening. So I'm not saying that it couldn't be misused. What I'm saying is, when you give the federal government full-blown authority to do whatever they want, including murder or shooting drones down that have people inside of them, they are going to use that authority at some point.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
It's over.